In the workplace, Jiang Qing has traveled through time and is still a white moonlight who died early in a male-frequency novel. Not to mention dying early, the other person is still a stallion man, the kind of person who loves each other. Whoever the scumbag wants will take it, anyway. Jiang Qing is not uncommon. Fortunately, she has golden fingers. Even without scumbags, she can continue to roll up and strive to soar the road. Until one day, she softened her heart and saved a half-dead man. Is this person still the big villain? Is it urgent for me to regret it? Just as Jiang Qing regretted it, this big villain actually relied on her, following her wherever she went. Jiang Qing. Xianyuan Wuhan, can you stop following me? Xianyuan Wutris. No, as the saying goes, the kindness of saving lives should be promised with one's own body. Qing, I am repaying the kindness. Can't you refuse me? Jiang Qing. Who the hell would want you to repay me? Xianyuan Wuhan. Just when she couldn't bear it anymore, what happened when the other party took her directly to the immortal realm? Is it a joke that she has worked hard for thousands of years in terms of emotions? Keywords of the novel. Wearing the white moonlight of premature death, I have no pop-up prompts for cultivating immortality. Wearing the white moonlight of premature death, I have prompts for cultivating immortality. Download the complete text. Wearing the white moonlight of premature death, I have prompts for cultivating immortality. Read the latest chapters. Chapter 1. Crossing and Getting Beaten. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Crossing and Getting Beaten. Pop pop pop. With a crisp sound, Jiang Qing was completely stunned. Her entire face turned red and swollen at a speed visible to the naked eye, and 5 palm prints were clearly displayed on each side of her cheeks. Although the situation is still unclear, it does not prevent her from launching a counterattack. Pop pop pop. Jiang Qing slapped the other party 3 times. Faint. What kind of tattered body, hitting someone instead of hurting oneself, can it be considered swollen? Jiang Qing rubbed her sore arm while also looking at the woman in front of her. She just saw clearly that it was this person who hit her. She was in her 40s and 50s, dressed in coarse cloth clothes, with shiny and oily hair, combed back of her head, had fierce eyes, a face full of flesh, and thick limbs. It was not easy to get along with at first glance. Mom, isn't this the ancient version of Rome Mama? Costume. Penthouse. Jiang Qing was stunned for 2 seconds before realizing that she had traveled through time. I just don't know where I wore it and what identity it is. Cheap hoof. You dare to hit me. Lu Posey was caught off guard and blinded. She had no idea that this usually cowardly and timid girl, who allowed her to bully at will, would dare to resist or even attack her. For Lu Posey, it's completely unbearable. Damn girl, you have eaten the courage of an ambitious leopard. How dare you hit me? Look at me, I won't skin you today. After Lu Posey realized it, her whole body exploded, like a furious lioness, casually picking up the stool under her feet and chasing after Jiang Qing. Damn girl, don't run. Jiang Qing blinked and, leaning against her small and young body, dodged the stool that Lu Posey had smashed in just a few seconds. With a loud collision, the stool rolled several times on the bluestone ground. Cheap girl, you can't avoid the first day of junior high school and the 15th day. I have to deal with you today, old lady. Lu Posey saw that she hadn't hit, so she grabbed a bamboo pole from the side and chased after Jiang Qing. Jiang Qing looked at the long bamboo pole in Lu Posey's hand, her eyelids twitching in fear. If she had been hit a few times, what would have happened? The body reacts faster than the brain, and with a flick, it can run far away. In my past life, I didn't work so hard during school sports meetings. You despicable girl, just like your mother, think you can climb up the branch and become a phoenix by climbing onto the head of the family's bed. Damn it, they are all cheap skin things, and it doesn't matter if the head of the family recognizes your mother and daughter, or if I won't kill you today. Lu Pozhi cursed and rushed over with a bamboo pole. Oh, this sentence is a bit informative. The original owner of the relationship is still a young lady from the mansion, but she is not recognized by the family owner. It's okay not to be recognized. It's a bit tragic to be bullied by a woman now. This courtyard is too small, and the door is also locked. Jiang Qing pulled it a few times but didn't open it. Seeing that he couldn't avoid it, he simply reached out and grabbed the other end of the bamboo pole. Damn girl, you're going against the sky. If you dare to resist my old lady, don't be angry, right? Let go quickly, Lu Pozhi cursed at Jiang Qing. Do you want to let go and hit me? How foolish I am. Jiang Qing tugged hard, trying to pull the bamboo pole over, but found that she hadn't pulled it for a long time. On the contrary, the old lady pulled hard, and Jiang Qing immediately fell to the ground, falling and eating shit. Ha ha ha. Damn you, don't even take a look at your skinny little body without 2 liang of flesh. How dare you argue with my old lady? I'm sorry. Jiang Qing's face turned red with embarrassment after being scolded, and she couldn't help but curse her damn tattered body again. Taking advantage of the old lady's laughter, she immediately snatched the bamboo pole from her hand. This damn old lady, the tiger doesn't get angry. She really thinks she's a sick cat. Jiang Qing was really angry now. Regardless of the situation, she grabbed the bamboo pole she had snatched and hit Lu Pozhi with a face full of shock. Oh my. I'm dying. Damn girl, stop it quickly. Oh my. It hurts so much. Lu Pozhi was hiding and shouting. The sky is upside down. You despicable skin, despicable thing, just as despicable as your mother. Why don't you die like your mother? Let's just live and waste food. Oh my. It hurts so much for me, old lady. I must tell my wife about today's situation and let her peel off the skin of your little slutty hoof. Jiang Qing ignored her curses and just picked out the old woman's sore spot and hit her repeatedly. You despicable thing, a little scumbag with a mother born but no mother raised, deserves no young lady's life. Oh. Stop beating. Hitting the old lady again will result in human life. Jiang Qing turned a deaf ear, and the bamboo pole thundered down on the old lady's body, one after another. It was really satisfying to hear. It's not that she was ruthless, she just discovered that the original owner's arms were covered in blue and purple marks, and it was clear that they were not beaten less on a daily basis. Jiang Qing estimated that she also has it on her body and elsewhere, and today she is just charging some interest. I killed you, old lady. At least I am also the daughter of the head of the family. Even if I am not recognized, I am still the head of the family's bloodline. Do you know how to bully me like this? Jiang Qing scolded while fighting. Although she didn't know who the old lady was, judging from her attire, it was likely that she was a servant in the mansion. It's not that she looks down on servants, it's just that she doesn't have a good impression of a slave who bullies her master. Even if not recognized, it cannot erase the fact that she is the daughter of the head of the family. It's too much to be bullied by a servant. As soon as she arrived, she was slapped in the face by this person. It would be good if Jiang Qing didn't kill her. I'm sorry. What about the bloodline of the head of the house? You useless person, the head of the house can only think of you. It's really like the sun is shining in the west. Lu Pozhi felt a bit guilty when scolded, and she naturally bullied the original owner a lot in her daily life. However, thinking that this girl could not cultivate, she instantly gained confidence and spoke out in a timely manner to refute. Waste. Jiang Qing was instantly angry. As the king of workplace competition, she had never been scolded as a waste. You are the garbage. Your whole his mother family is garbage. I will kill you. Jiang Qing's attack became even more fierce, and the old lady screamed in pain. Oh, hey. I'm dying, I'm dying. You despicable girl, stop it. Stop it. Mrs. Lu panted heavily, whether she was tired or angry. Jiang Qing is also afraid of losing her life. The current situation is unclear, and she doesn't have any memory of the original owner. Just give some lessons. Thinking of this, Jiang Qing grabbed the hand of the bamboo pole and looked fiercely at Lu Posey in the opposite direction, coldly saying, "Then will you still hit me in the future?" "No, no, 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 my little ancestor. I was wrong to count myself as an old lady, okay?" Lu Posey said hurriedly, covering the area where she was beaten. Jiang Qing didn't know if this woman had truly softened or had other intentions in her heart, but it didn't matter. If the other party dared to bully her in the future, Jiang Qing would let them know why Hua Air was so red. The reason why Lu Posey admitted her mistake was not because she was afraid of Jiang Qing, but because she didn't want to make trouble anymore. On the other hand, I feel that the future is long and there will be plenty of time and opportunities to rectify her. Since she can't get a good deal right now, taking a soft and timely stop-loss without losing out, she's already a servant and there's nothing embarrassing about her. Jiang Qing was unaware of Lu Posey's inner thoughts. When she saw the other party soften, Jiang Qing didn't hold on to it either. After throwing away the bamboo pole in her hand, she casually found a room to rest. "I've been fighting for a long time, and I'm quite tired. Not to mention, she also suffered several times from the old lady." Hiss. "It hurts so much. Mother.in.law, it's really heavy." Jiang Qing rubbed the hit area and couldn't help but curse. Lu Posey didn't care about Jiang Qing, just looked at the messy mess in the yard, her head getting bigger. In the past, it was all Jiang Qing who cleaned up. At present, this dead girl disregards everything and goes straight into the house to rest. Lu Posey had the intention of getting angry, but at the thought of the other party's fierce appearance just now, she felt a little scared again. Damn it, why did this dead girl suddenly change her personality? Maybe she was taken away by some lonely and wild ghost. Of course, Mrs. Lu just casually said that although there is a saying of giving up in the cultivation world, who would go and give up a little girl with unknown talent who cannot practice? Lu Posey shook her head and put aside the unrealistic thoughts in her mind. It was only when this girl was being bullied that she began to resist. Jiang Qing was unaware of Lu Posey's inner thoughts and casually entered a room with extremely simple furnishings. Apart from the bed and a large door box, there was nothing else in the room. There are still some neatly stacked clothes on the bedside, similar to those on her body. I think this should be the original owner's room. After realizing that this was the original owner's room, Jiang Qing relaxed and took off her shoes. She pulled over the bedding and went to sleep. The sky is breaking dawn, the morning light is faint. Jiang Qing slept until early the next morning. After waking up, Jiang Qing's expression was a bit dazed. Last night, she dreamed of a young girl, and the content was the little details of the girl from childhood to adulthood. She knew it was the memory of the original owner. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. The original owner is a little pitiful. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. The original owner is a little pitiful. The original owner, also known as Jiang Qing, was born to the head of the household, Jiang Qing, and a maid named Lu Er. Lu Er is also the mother of the original owner. Due to her beautiful appearance, she is often hated and bullied by other maids in her daily life. Once, Jiang Tan came back from drinking outside and accidentally discovered the mother of the original owner, Lu Er. It is unclear whether it is due to the influence of alcohol or being fascinated by her mother's beauty. Maybe there are both. Anyway, she slept with her mother that time. Sleep and then sleep, at least give someone a name. Jiang Tan felt good, and after sleeping, he just forgot about it. It's not that I don't care. Occasionally, I still give some things to the original owner's mother, but they are also some material things such as gold, silver, wealth, and silk, and there is no reputation. Of course, Jiang Tan would often privately search for Lu Er, coming and going, sleeping more often, and the servants of the mansion, big and small, would also know about it. At this moment, Lu Er also became pregnant with the original owner. Lu Er thought that if she became pregnant, Jiang Tan would give her a name and make her the aunt of the Jiang family. Unfortunately, Jiang Tan was a person who prioritized interests. The wives and aunties of the Jiang mansion are all legitimate or illegitimate daughters of various immortal families. It is not acceptable for Jiang Tan to let a maid become an aunt, and she is also immortal. Even if she gives birth to the original owner, it's not possible. She just often sends people to deliver things to her. The mother of the original owner had sex several times, but she couldn't become the aunt of the Jiang family as she wished. On the contrary, as a result, Jiang Tan came less and less. Lu Er was afraid of losing favor and dared not become a demon anymore. She could only carefully flatter Jiang Tan, but unfortunately the good times didn't last long. In a few years, Jiang Tan became tired of Lu Er and came less and less frequently. In the end, she completely forgot about Lu Er and her daughter. Without identity, without affection, the days of the original mother and daughter were truly tumultuous. When Lu Er was favored, others didn't dare to do anything, but after she fell out of favor, it was different. Besides, she didn't have any status yet. After all, the mother and daughter were still maids. Not long after, Lu Er was rubbed to death by his wife Zhou Shi. As for the original owner, at the age of 5, due to incomplete spiritual roots, he was sent by his wife to wash clothes in this remote courtyard, and he has been struggling to grow up until now. Having incomplete spiritual roots means having no spiritual roots, which means being unable to cultivate. As an ordinary person who cannot cultivate, Jiang Tan will not care even more. He probably forgot that he still has such a daughter. She remembered that when the original owner was 5 years old, during the spiritual root test, there was a moment when a blue light appeared. The elders present at the time were also shocked and happy, thinking that the type of spiritual root was good. Based on the various novels she has read in her past life, Jiang Qing probably guessed that it was a wood spirit root, and the blue color represents the wood attribute. This is not difficult to guess, but unfortunately, the blue light disappeared in an instant. After testing several times, it still remained the same, and in the end, it could only be attributed to the incomplete spiritual roots of the original owner. They all sighed in disappointment and then left the original owner behind. Others thought she couldn't cultivate, but in fact, she wasn't. After receiving the memory, I know that this is a world within a book, and also a world of male novels. I only vaguely remember the story of a modern youth wearing Qin Ling Tian, a servant in the Jiang mansion, and fighting monsters to upgrade and take over the harem. And the original protagonist is a white moonlight who died prematurely as the male protagonist. As for the cause of death, it seems that he was killed by blocking the sword for the male lead. This way of death is simply a love brain. I only know that after the original protagonist's death, the male protagonist kept collecting the harem, which completely disgusted her. Afterwards, she threw the book aside. She didn't read the rest of the content either, but now she feels a bit regretful. However, one thing is certain. Her spiritual roots can be repaired. It seems that the male lead finally brought her the eternal wood spirit, but it's really unclear where Jiang Qing got it. Because she almost jumped and watched it at first, and after such a long time, it's strange that she can remember. Forget it, take a step and see. Since the male lead can find the eternal wood spirit, she can definitely do it too. She won't give up as long as there is a chance. If you really can't find it, at best go lick the male lead again. Although disgusting, at least there is a chance to cultivate immortality. It is better than a lifetime of mortals, which quickly turn into a pile of lusts in 100 years. Later, Jiang Qing suddenly remembered that she had not seen what the original owner looked like, but fortunately, there was a bronze mirror in the room. Just not big, about the size of a palm. Jiang Qing took the palm-sized bronze mirror with a disdainful expression, and through the mirror, she saw the original owner's appearance. After seeing the original owner's appearance clearly, she was completely stunned. I saw the woman in the mirror, with two curved eyebrows that seemed to be frowning but not frowning, and a pair of eyes that seemed to be filled with joy but not emotion. The state is filled with two dimples of sorrow, and the body is plagued by a tender illness. Tears streamed down my face, and I gasped for breath. Although looking thin, there are basically all the things that should be there. The skin is white, but it's a bit too white and a bit pathological. At first glance, it looks weak and not affected by wind. This kind of person, let alone cultivates immortals, is just a mortal who doesn't know if they can live to old age, with a feeling of Lin Dayu or sick Shishir. Thief, aren't you playing with me? Although she may not be considered a man, she is still a clean and straightforward woman. What's the point of giving her a sick Shishir appearance? God knows she looks down on this type the least. Even if it's not a sick child, Shishir is about the same as Bai Lianhua. With such a beautiful appearance, no wonder she becomes the male lead's white moonlight cinnabar mole. Is white moonlight a standard feature? If your body is not good and you are weak and die early, why is it called white moonlight if you don't die? Gollum. At this moment, an untimely voice suddenly sounded. Speaking of which, she hasn't eaten anything since yesterday, so it's strange that she's not hungry. Jiang Qing rubbed her hungry and panicked stomach before opening the door and lifting her foot out of the room. Opening the door, I couldn't help but see Mrs. Lu again. Damn girl, do you know now? Come over and wash my clothes quickly. Upon seeing Jiang Qing come out, Lu Posey immediately pulled her unattractive old face down and pointed to several large wooden pots in front of her, saying. Jiang Qing scanned several large wooden pots at Lu Posey's feet, filled with clothes, and walked away without looking back. Finally, leave the last sentence, let's wait until I'm full before we talk. With a cold expression and a aloof demeanor, Jiang Qing stood in stark contrast to her previous weak and deceitful original owner. Lu Posey was taken aback and said, "Isn't this dead girl possessed by a ghost?" Jiang Qing doesn't care what Lu Posey thinks, she has no intention of acting according to the original owner's personality. Whether she can pretend or not, even if she can pretend, she will still succumb to death. Moreover, her personality is different from that of the original owner. Even if she pretends for a while, she can't pretend for a lifetime. It's better to be herself openly. As for how others think, what should she do? Anyway, the original owner is helpless and has no close friends, so I'm sorry for one. Being bullied so hard, isn't it normal for someone to suddenly change their sex? Just as Jiang Qing was thinking about these messy things, her footsteps had already followed the original owner's memory to the place where the servants, such as maids and servants, ate their meals in the mansion. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. She also has gold fingers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. She also has gold fingers. Well, it's worth mentioning that most of the maids and servants in the Jiang mansion are ordinary people, and only some decent servants in front of their masters have the opportunity to cultivate. When Jiang Qing arrived, the cafeteria was already crowded with people. Hey! Look, isn't that Jiang Qing? Soon someone noticed her. Due to the special identity of the original owner, the maids and servants in the mansion have always looked at her with strange eyes. Who would make her Miss or Maids Miss? In the eyes of others, she is just an outsider. That's good, at least there's nothing to worry about. Jiang Qing ignored the strange gazes around her and went straight to one of the windows to queue up for breakfast. However, before Jiang Qing went there, 2 big meat buns and a bowl of lean meat congee were handed to her. Jiang Qing doesn't have to think about it, she knows who it is. With the memory of the original owner, she knows it must be Qin Lingtian. Sure enough, Jiang Qing looked up and saw an enlarged face in front of her. The person was 17 or 18 years old, with a jade-like face, sword eyebrows and starry eyes. She looked quite handsome, and could be considered to be full of vitality and handsome. Especially those deep eyes, which are the biggest highlight of his facial features, can make women unconsciously addicted and give people a mysterious and extraordinary feeling. Although Jiang Qing didn't know why she didn't feel anything at all, many women in the novel did succumb to Qin Lingtian's mysterious black eyes. With just one glance, Jiang Qing knew that the male lead was wearing it. Although the original Qin Lingtian had an outstanding appearance, he was not as eye-catching as he is now. Especially those deep eyes, which Qin Lingtian, as a servant in the past, did not possess. Just as Jiang Qing looked at Qin Lingtian, the other party also looked at her. After discovering that her expression and behavior were completely different from before, Qin Lingtian's heart quietly changed. TSK TSK TSK. It's a pity that he has a good appearance. Originally, this kind of appearance and original temperament were his favorite type, otherwise he wouldn't have been so eager to serve breakfast. Now I don't know which lonely and wild ghost has taken it away, it's really a pity. Qin Lingtian once again glanced at the indifference in Jiang Qing's eyes, and his heart became increasingly certain of his judgment. That little girl is always timid, weak and lovable, making people unable to resist wanting to embrace and protect her. Not like this one in front of me, even with a fragile appearance, it cannot change the stubbornness and coldness emanating from within, a look of rejection thousands of miles away. It is obvious that they are two people who have traveled through time and have memories of the original owner, so they can clearly distinguish the difference between the two. If it were a local person, at most one would think of being stimulated and causing a significant change in temperament. As for taking possession, that's something that only cultivators have, let alone a mortal with incomplete spiritual roots. Who has enough to eat and nothing to do to take possession of her? Haha, eat, don't mention it. Qin Lingtian didn't expose her, but generously handed the steamed stuffed bun congee to Jiang Qing again. Even if the people inside have changed, Qin Lingtian is not enough to take back the things he sent. Besides, it's just 2 steamed buns and a bowl of porridge. Jiang Qing glanced at the congee and steamed stuffed buns in front of her. She didn't reach out to pick them up, but said quietly, "Thank you. You'd better keep them for yourself." Then, I prepared to queue up at the window. However, before Jiang Qing could leave, she suddenly noticed something similar to an attribute panel appearing on Qin Lingtian's head. Name: Qin Lingtian, male lead rising all the way, qualification: Chaos Spirit Root, Premium, Cultivation. Cultivate 3 layers of Qi Destiny. The Return of Destiny, Gold, the protagonist's halo, Gold, among the people, the dragon and phoenix, Purple, turn misfortune into good luck, Purple, personality charm, Purple, the help of noble people, Purple, life script. Thoroughly overcoming obstacles and obstacles, ultimately soaring to the immortal realm. Recent turning point. In 5 days, a storage bag containing a large amount of spirit stones and elixirs will be obtained in an abandoned cave on the back mountain. 10 days later, I bought a black iron piece at a low price in the local market that couldn't be seen, and then obtained the 5 elements escape technique from it. Half a month later, after breaking through the 5th level of Qi cultivation, while practicing in the Black Wind Forest outside the city, 100-year-old spirit milk was discovered in a cave halfway up a gourd-shaped mountain peak. Is this? Is it because she's dizzy? Jiang Qing closed her eyes and then opened them several times, only to find that the panel was still there. Does she also have golden fingers? If the content displayed on the panel is true, then Qin Lingtian's attributes are also too impressive, with a trail of purple or gold. Although she doesn't quite understand, purple or gold should represent an excellent level. Especially, seeing Qin Lingtian's recent turning point, Jiang Qing couldn't help but envy her. Unfortunately, it's a pity that she doesn't have the 10,000-year-old wood essence she needs most inside. Jiang Qing, in order to verify her guess, turned her gaze to the other people in the cafeteria and found similar panels on their heads. Name: Wang Hao, passerby a flying all the way, cultivation. None destiny. Mediocre and inactive, gray, life script. When old, redeem oneself to return to go home, enjoy the happiness of family, and die in bed. Recent turning point. None subsequently, Jiang Qing looked at a few more people, most of whom were mediocre and lived their lives calmly, with very few able to embark on the path of immortality. Qin Lingtian beside him naturally didn't miss Jiang Qing's recent facial expression and behavior, feeling a bit confused and unclear about the situation. Jiang Qing hurriedly went back to verify her hypothesis, ignoring Qin Lingtian's confusion. She quickly picked up 2 buns at the windowsill and left. Hurrying back to her residence, Jiang Qing muttered crazily in her heart. System, is that you? After a while without any reaction, just as Jiang Qing thought she had hallucinations before, a voice rang out. Ding, the installation of the reverse heaven and change life system has been successful. Do you want to bind it? After hearing this, Jiang Qing became excited. It turned out that she also had golden fingers. Just say, as a traveler, how could there be no benefits? A moment ago, she was still worried about whether she could cultivate immortality and felt that it was really not possible, so she decided to lick the male lead. Nowadays, with the system, all problems are easily solved. Binding successful. Soon, a property panel appeared in front of Jiang Qing. Name. Jiang Qing, the white moonlight of the rising male lead. Qualification. Mu Ling Zhen, incomplete, cultivation. None destiny. Heavenly destiny, female lead, purple, charm of personality, purple, ice skin and jade bones, purple, early childhood, black, heavenly jealousy, red beauty, black, illness talisman, gray, life script. Following the male lead to leave the Jiang family, successfully being taken into the harem by the male lead and becoming his first woman. Later, with the help of the male protagonist, he successfully repaired his incomplete spiritual roots and eventually became a monk. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last long. During a pursuit, he died to save the male lead. Recent turning point. I will be beaten up by Lu Pozi, Qian Pozi, and Zhao Pozi today. Coincidentally, Qin Lingtian arrived in time and saved you. You were grateful to Qin Lingtian and thus developed a love for him. All information is clear at a glance. Even the elusive things of fate and chance have been revealed. Destiny is divided into black, gray, white, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and gold. Black and gray represent bad luck or bad luck. It's just that the degree of bad luck between black and gray is different. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Spiritual Root Restoration. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Spiritual Root Restoration. White represents ordinary, and most ordinary people are mostly white. The 3 colors of red, orange, and yellow indicate a little bit of luck, but not much. Green and cyan are considered average, and generally achieve success, which is considered very good. Blue and purple are excellent luck. People like this will have endless opportunities and good luck throughout their lives. If they get injured, they will be saved, and if they fight, they will be helped. Even if they walk on the road, they can find treasures. In short, if they are lucky enough to make people jealous, that's right. As for gold, it only appears on the son of Qi luck or the top villain. For example, the male lead Qin Lingtian has 2 golden Qi luck. The height of one's destiny is closely related to their lifetime, and a golden destiny is favored by the heavenly way. Jiang Qing then looked at the content displayed in the destiny column and thought to herself, no wonder the original protagonist would become the white moonlight and cinnabar mole of the male protagonist. Is the emotion based on the female lead script or purple luck? Unfortunately, there are premature death, jealousy, beauty, and illness symbols in one's destiny, and these 3 are either black or gray. No wonder the original protagonist, Bai Yueguang, as the male lead, ended up dying early with such a fate. Jiang Qing's gaze shifted downwards, and when she saw the recent turning point, her face darkened. Very good, Mrs. Liu, it seems that yesterday's lesson was not enough. If you dare to trouble me, I will definitely not spare you. Jiang Qing said coldly. As for the fact that Qin Lingtian will come to save her as shown in the system, Jiang Qing did not take it to heart. Qin Lingtian likes the original owner but not her, and Jiang Qing doesn't think the other party will come to save her. Besides, she doesn't necessarily need Qin Lingtian's help. Jiang Qing left all these messy things behind and then shifted her attention. I began to explore towards the panel in front of me and found that besides being able to view character attributes and opportunities, there were also two main quests. The first main task is changing destiny against heaven, the second main task is becoming immortal. In addition to the main quests, there may also be occasional releases of some quests, with rewards for completing them. Ding! As this is your first time binding, a beginner gift package will be sent for you to silently claim. Get it? Jiang Qing muttered silently. Congratulations to the host for receiving the beginner's gift package. The package contains a 10,000-year-old wood essence and a divine-level wood attribute skill, 6 Paths of Reincarnation Sutra, System Warehouse. Jiang Qing looked at the beginner gift package and thought it was pretty good. 10,000-year-old wood essence is a good thing that all cultivators with wood attributes flock to. Even if there are spirit stones on the market, they cannot be bought. Only those ancient tribes that have been passed down for hundreds of thousands of years can have them. Of course, it is also what she currently needs the most. The second cultivation method is also good, the 6 Paths of Reincarnation Sutra, which is impressive just by its name. Moreover, it is a divine-level cultivation method, which is even more impressive. You should know that in today's cultivation world, not to mention divine-level techniques, even sky-level martial arts are rare, of course not without them, it's just controlled by some big powers. Well, once her spiritual roots are repaired, she can officially practice. As for the system warehouse for the third reward, Jiang Qing couldn't help but contemplate the system for a moment, saying, isn't the system warehouse built.in? It's also used as a reward, really deducted. But roast belongs to roast, which does not affect Jiang Qing's good mood in the slightest. The system extracts the wood essence of 10,000 years. Jiang Qing muttered silently. Suddenly, a slender and translucent green wood essence about the size of a thumb appeared, emitting a faint green glow around the essence, mysterious and beautiful. As a result, a refreshing fragrance rushed towards her face. Just taking a sip, Jiang Qing felt comfortable and refreshed all over her body. The system's products are indeed exquisite. Dizzying, it hurts so much. Jiang Qing had never practiced before and didn't know how to absorb the wood essence of 10,000 years, so she simply swallowed it in one gulp. Is it okay to eat it in your stomach? Anyway, it's only the size of a thumb, and it's not too difficult to swallow. Who knew? At first she didn't feel anything, but after a while, Jiang Qing felt a sharp pain in her body, writhing back and forth. What Jiang Qing didn't know was that only she dared to swallow 10,000-year-old wood essence with a mortal body so boldly. If she changed people casually, she was afraid to explode and die immediately. The essence of wood spirit that has gathered for thousands of years is not a joke. Jiang Qingmu's spiritual roots are incomplete, and after 10,000 years of wood essence enters the body. Most of the essence of the wood spirit was used to repair the spiritual roots, which helped her avoid the danger of exploding and dying. Of course, Jiang Qing didn't know this, she only knew that she was in pain now, feeling so painful that she couldn't even breathe. Just as Jiang Qing was rolling on the ground in pain, somewhere in her dantian, the originally incomplete spiritual root was gradually repaired, until more than an hour later, the originally incomplete spiritual root was completely repaired. And the 10,000-year-old wood essence swallowed by Jiang Qing has also been almost absorbed. As a result, a foul odor spread, and all the clothes and bodies were covered in black. Is this a way to wash her menstrual and marrow? It smells so bad, why don't you take a shower now? Jiang Qing quickly went to take a shower, and after finishing, she found that her body was much easier than before. Although he still looked weak and indifferent, he looked much healthier and no longer the sickly white he used to be. On the contrary, it is white with a touch of powder, tender and emitting a spiritual energy from its bones that it did not have before. Although the appearance has not changed, the overall aura of the person is different. Looking at the appearance in the bronze mirror, Jiang Qing felt somewhat pleased. Later, Jiang Qing remembered the reward techniques in the system gift package. In theory, she can now practice. However, we still need to find a quiet and not easily disturbed place first. This laundry room is crowded with people and not suitable for cultivation. Just as Jiang Qing was pondering where to cultivate appropriately. With a loud bang, the door of Jiang Qing's house was forcefully kicked open from outside, and Lu Pezi was seen standing at the door with a fierce and evil spirit. Behind Lu Pezi, there are two similarly aged women. Jiang Qing has memories of the original owner and knows that those two women are also from this laundry room. I have a good relationship with Lu Pezi on weekdays, so I naturally bully the original owner a lot. But for some unknown reason, she didn't see these two people yesterday. Oh. Damn you, what time is it? You're still hiding in the house, really thinking you're a miss from the Jiang mansion. You don't need to work, so that we old ladies can serve you, right? Lu Pezi sarcastically sneered, and then walked a few steps to Jiang Qing, slapping her hand a few times. I suffered a lot of losses from this dead girl yesterday, and today I have to reclaim it with interest. Humph. I brought my helper with me. She doesn't believe it, can this dead girl still fly into the sky? We must do a good job of rectifying this dead girl today. Jiang Qing looked at the slap in front of her, her eyes sharp, and she kicked Lu Pezi hard in the stomach as she approached. Although she has not yet started practicing, her physical fitness is no longer much worse than that of cultivators who practice qi on the first or second level. Besides being able to repair damaged spiritual roots, Wan Yan Mu Jing is also extremely beneficial to Muling Gen cultivators. Although Lu Pezi has a good body, her physical fitness is naturally incomparable to that of Jiang Qing, who has swallowed a spiritual object for thousands of years. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. The female lead is poisonous. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. The female lead is poisonous. Jiang Qing kicked down and kicked Lu Pezi across from her, hitting the door panel outside. Puff. Lu Pezi spat out a big mouthful of blood, stumbled up, and looked at Jiang Qing with a frightened and shocked expression on her face. The two women outside the door were also like this, with their eyes and mouths wide open, clearly frightened. I'm not feeling dizzy, right? They can be considered to have watched Jiang Qing grow up, and their moral character is as clear as ever. Just like that weak and indifferent young lady, not to mention kicking someone away, even hitting someone might hurt her own hand. Is it just practicing? A chubby woman muttered softly, this is actually the cultivation family, and I still know a little about cultivation. Impossible, her spiritual roots are incomplete. This is something that the entire Jiang family knows. How can she cultivate a useless spiritual root? The answer was from another round-faced woman. So what's going on? The chubby woman looked puzzled. The round-faced woman shook her head, obviously unable to understand why the originally weak and unruly girl suddenly became tough and powerful. Qin Lingtian had just stepped into the laundry room when he saw such a scene. TSK. What's bothering him? With his tough and resilient nature, it's strange that he can be bullied. Qin Lingtian himself didn't know why he came here. He was clearly interested in Jiang Qing, who used to be weak and needed his protection. I don't know why, but the figure of this little girl always comes to mind from time to time, fearing that she might be bullied, so she runs over with a bang. TSK, is this girl poisonous? If Jiang Qing knew what Qin Lingtian was thinking, she would know that the plot had played a role. Even if Jiang Qing is not the type that Qin Lingtian likes, as the male lead in the book, by Yueguang, Qin Lingtian finds it difficult to resist falling in love with Jiang Qing. This is also why Jiang Qing has read the original book, coupled with a systematic approach that is not affected by the plot. If it were changed to the original owner, it is estimated that Qin Lingtian's heart would have been secretly promised long ago. Unfortunately, she is not the original owner, so naturally she doesn't like Qin Lingtian, the stallion man. Qin Lingtian felt relieved when he saw that Jiang Qing had not been bullied. After looking in place for a while, he turned around and left. On this side, the two women outside the door thought for a while but couldn't come up with a reason. They only thought that Jiang Qing was possessed by ghosts and monsters. The two exchanged a glance, both seeing the terror in each other's eyes. Then, the two women couldn't help but shout, "Ghosts!" Then, they all ran without looking back. And Lu Posey, who had been kicked away, was already scared to pee, her body fighting like a sieve, trembling and lying in place, clearly frightened. You're not Jiang Qing." Jiang Qing was too lazy to pay attention to Lu Posey's words. She looked at Lu Posey in disgust and said coldly, "Why don't you leave quickly?" Yes, go now, go now." Lu Posey saw that Jiang Qing was willing to let her go, and as if granted amnesty, she quickly ran away. Without any accidents, what happened today cannot be concealed. The sudden and significant change in a person inevitably raises suspicion. In order to avoid trouble, Jiang Qing felt it was better to leave early. Fortunately, there's nothing to be nostalgic about here. Jiang Qing had no intention of concealing herself from the beginning, as she had a different personality from the original owner. If she were to live like the original owner, being bullied and not daring to resist, so oppressed, it would be better to die. Expose it, anyway, this Jiang family is not a good place. Jiang Qing threw all the original owner's clothes and some daily necessities into the system warehouse. Finally, he dug out a pottery jar under the bed and found some spirit beads, scattered silver, and several well-made hairpins inside. There are about 40 or 50 spirit beads, and as for silver, it only adds up to over 100 taels. The hairpin was left by the original owner's mother before her death, and these are all the original owner's belongings. It's really poor, and there's not a piece of inferior spirit stone. Jiang Qing roast that she would go back to roast, but she still received the system warehouse silently. In the Kanglan continent, 100 taels of silver can be exchanged for a spirit pearl. 100 spirit beads are equivalent to a lower-grade spirit stone, and so on. After packing everything up, Jiang Qing strode out of the laundry room. It was only Jiang Qing who left the laundry room, preparing to leave Jiang's mansion, when passing by the garden and encountering a person head on. Jiang Qing looked up and saw Qin Lingtian. Her eyebrows furrowed slightly and she said coldly, "What's up?" Qin Lingtian didn't answer her question, but instead asked in reverse, "Are you preparing to leave?" Jiang Qing glanced at the other person and her voice suddenly cooled a few degrees. "It's none of your business." After speaking, Jiang Qing bypassed Qin Lingtian and prepared to leave. Qin Lingtian did not stop her, but said to her back, "Since that's the case, I'll come with you." He had already obtained the contract to sell himself, and the reason he stayed in the Jiang mansion was simply because he felt that his current cultivation was too low and wanted to stay here for a while. Upon hearing this, Jiang Qing paused slightly and turned to look at him. She frowned and said, "What did you say?" "I said since you're leaving, why don't you leave together?" "For me, it doesn't matter whether I stay or not in the Jiang mansion," Qin Lingtian said without hesitation. Jiang Qing doesn't want to have too much involvement with the male lead. No need. After leaving this sentence, Jiang Qing walked away without looking back. Although Jiang Qing was not well received in the mansion, fortunately she was not prohibited from going out. She left the mansion smoothly. Jiang Qing, who had left Jiang's mansion, felt a bit unsure where to go for a moment. But it immediately occurred to her that she had an idea when she saw the recent turning point on Qin Lingtian's system panel in the cafeteria this morning. If she remembers correctly, Qin Lingtian's first chance was 5 days later. Before Qin Lingtian could get it, she had to quickly get it. There is no fixed master for any opportunity. What you can get is your chance. If you don't get it, the chance has nothing to do with you, it's not yours. If luck has a fixed owner and someone is absolutely necessary, then it is not luck, and that is called inheritance. Moreover, in the realm of cultivation, the weak prey on the strong, and the strong are respected. Fighting and killing for treasure is just a common occurrence. The world of cultivation is extremely cruel. Jiang Qing will not let go of anything that can enhance her own strength. However, it's not the right time yet. It's best to go after nightfall. In the quiet of the night, there will be fewer people going out, and Jiang Qing doesn't want to encounter any trouble. After careful consideration, Jiang Qing went straight to the local market for shopping. She didn't forget that in 10 days, Qin Lingtian would receive a black iron plate in the square market, which contained a 5 elements escape technique. I don't know exactly where it is in the neighborhood, she needs to search carefully. I don't know if it's too early, they haven't sold it yet or what's going on. Jiang Qing wandered around the neighborhood all day but didn't find anything. Time flies by, and in the blink of an eye, night falls. At this moment, the sky has gradually become dim, with stars dotted in the sky, twinkling and twinkling, which is really beautiful. Jiang Qing saw that the sky was getting dim and did not linger too much in the neighborhood. Instead, she took advantage of the darkness to quietly go to the back mountain of the later Jiang family. When we arrived at the back mountain, we saw overgrown weeds and few people walking there. Obviously, it has been abandoned for a long time, and there are occasional monsters appearing in the back mountain. Ordinary people coming here are afraid of endangering their lives. Jiang Qing, a mortal body, especially appearing on the back mountain at night, can be said to be extremely dangerous. Fortunately, Jiang Qing had good luck and did not encounter any monsters along the way. After searching for a while in the back mountain, I finally discovered a small cave in a relatively hidden place. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Practice. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Practice. Jiang Qing cleared the entrance of the cave, where there were weeds as tall as one person, and then cautiously walked in. The cave was very dark, but fortunately she was prepared when she came out and spent 2 spirit beads to buy some moonlight stones in the local market. This thing is very cheap and has no effect except for lighting. A spirit bead can buy several. With the light emitted by the moonstone, Jiang Qing began to look at the cave in front of her. This cave is not very large, and its overall shape resembles a gourd. Jiang Qing saw at a glance that at the deepest part of the cave, there was a skeleton frame half lying with its back against the cave's stone wall. The black and indistinguishable outer garment was draped over the skeleton rack, and there was also a storage bag hanging around its waist, which was what Jiang Qing was going to take on this trip. At night, seeing a skeleton or something, to be honest, it really tests the heart's strength. Fortunately, Jiang Qing was a relatively bold person. After doing some mental construction for herself, she cautiously walked up to the skeleton rack. Bending down and not turning her face, Jiang Qing tried her best not to look at the skeleton in front of her. With a slight force, he pulled over the storage bag hanging from the skull's waist and flew away from the cave. Ha! I scared her to death. If I had known there was a skeleton inside, I wouldn't have chosen to come tonight even if I killed her. After leaving the cave, Jiang Qing lightly patted her heart, clearly frightened. Looking at the storage bag in her hand, Jiang Qing was overjoyed and couldn't help but hold it in her hand to examine. It is made of some kind of brown animal skin, the size of a palm, with exquisite cloud patterns embroidered on the surface, which is somewhat similar to a purse. And it's bulging, obviously filled with something inside, but when held in hand, it's as light as nothing. She pinched the opening of the bag and wanted to open it, but found that it couldn't be opened at all. After thinking for a while, she realized that she had not yet practiced, so she decided to throw the storage bag into the system warehouse and planned to study it carefully after practicing. Jiang Qing quietly left the back mountain along the way she came. Not long after, Jiang Qing reappeared on the streets of Fengshe. She no longer plans to return to the Jiang family and casually found an inn to stay at. After eating, drinking, and washing up again, and instructing Xiao not to disturb her, Jiang Qing began to prepare and cultivate. Jiang Qing sat cross-legged on the bed, holding a milky white jade slip in her right hand. This jade slip is the divine-level wooden attribute skill, Eternal Life Reincarnation Sutra, in the System Beginner's Gift Package. Jiang Qing had never practiced before, and there was no one to guide her. Holding the jade slip, she didn't know what to do for a long time. Fortunately, she had read a lot of novels in her past life, and when she recalled what was written in those novels, she simply pasted the jade slips on her forehead. Sure enough, when the jade slip was stuck on her forehead, an additional message came to Jiang Qing's mind. In addition to textual information, there are also humanoid patterns painted in various postures, with thin lines drawn inside the human body. The Taoist texts in this book are not only in traditional Chinese characters, but also extremely obscure and profound, making Jiang Qing's head too big. In addition to the previous Taoist texts, the following will start discussing how to cultivate, how to sense the qi between heaven and earth, and how to introduce qi into oneself for cultivation. Jiang Qing couldn't quite understand those Taoist texts, but the nearby meridian diagram was clear at a glance. She sat with her legs crossed as shown in the picture, drawing a gourd and sensing the so called qi. But after only sitting for half an hour, my legs felt numb and I couldn't sit still anymore, as if there were needles under my buttocks. But then, thinking of the benefits of longevity, Jiang Qing sat down obediently again and continued to sense the qi mentioned in the Taoist text. Due to her eagerness to cultivate immortality, Jiang Qing diligently meditated all night. Fortunately, her physical condition was good, and it wasn't until the next morning that she sensed the so called qi. Jiang Qing's heart was filled with joy as she slowly closed her eyes, and her body and mind slowly entered a state of emptiness. I don't know how long it took, but a hint of warmth suddenly appeared in the lower abdomen's dantian, increasing until it converged into a stream, circulating back and forth in her meridians. Wherever the warm light blue current passes, all the internal organs are nourished until it finally flows into the dantian. Jiang Qing slowly opened her eyes, her gaze clear and clear. She sat still for a pillar of incense before regaining her senses from the mysterious realm. The inn is still the original inn, but it is somewhat different. Jiang Qing got up from the bed and went to the window. She pushed open the window of the inn and looked at the bustling streets of the neighborhood. It seemed like in an instant, everything was different. Not only has the field of vision improved, but also the five senses of listening have improved. Jiang Qing stood on the windowsill and could even see some ants in the corner across the street. If you listen carefully, you can still hear sounds of beating and scolding children coming from somewhere unknown. Jiang Qing raised the corners of her mouth, and joy surged into her heart. She knew that she had entered the level of qi cultivation mentioned in the book, and thus truly stepped into the threshold of cultivation. Lowering his head, he realized that his whole body was covered in a layer of greasy black mud, smelling extremely foul. Although there is not as much dirt as when I took Wan Nianmu Jing yesterday, there is still quite a bit. Jiang Qing opened the door of the inn and beckoned the waiter, asking for some bath water. The shower water was quickly delivered, and Jiang Qing, under the strange gaze of the waiter, quickly closed the door of the inn and carefully cleaned it before giving up. After cleaning, Jiang Qing couldn't wait to remove the system panel. Name: Jiang Qing, the white moonlight of the rising male lead, qualification. Wood spirit root, premium, cultivation. Cultivate one layer of qi destiny. Heavenly destiny, female lead, purple, charm of personality, purple, ice skin and jade bones, purple, early childhood, black, heavenly jealousy, red beauty, black, illness talisman, orange, life script. Following the male lead to leave the Jiang family, successfully being taken into the harem by the male lead and becoming his first woman. Later, with the help of the male protagonist, he successfully repaired his incomplete spiritual roots and eventually became a monk. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last long. During a pursuit, he died to save the male lead. Recent turning point. Jiang Tan, the head of the Jiang family, has heard about your changes and suspects that you have had an opportunity. He has also repaired the damaged Muling Gen. Now, righteous people are searching for your whereabouts everywhere, attempting to bring you back to the Jiang family. After reading the information on the system panel, Jiang Qing's expression did not change much, as if everything was expected. What was originally displayed in her qualification column was Muling Gen, residual, and now that incomplete character has disappeared, not to mention, even becoming a masterpiece. Jiang Qing did not expect that the effect of Wan Nian Mu Jing would be so great, not only repairing her incomplete Muling roots, but even elevating her Muling roots to the highest level. As expected, the system produces high-quality products. Not only that, even the cultivation column has transformed from a mortal to a layer of qi cultivation. However, to Jiang Qing's surprise, her destiny column also changed, and the disease symbol, gray, in the original destiny column became the disease symbol, orange. White represents the average physical fitness of an ordinary person. And orange is 2 levels higher than white, indicating that her physical condition is good now and she is no longer weak. Jiang Qing thought that by waiting for her illness symbol, premature death, and jealousy to turn purple or disappear, she might be able to avoid the fate of premature death. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Dogs have human nature than him. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Dogs have human nature than him. Subsequently, Jiang Qing focused her gaze on the recent turning point. After seeing the content displayed above, Jiang Qing's eyes couldn't help but show a hint of disdain. Pooh, your face is really big. My daughter has been serving as a slave in the laundry room for nearly 10 years, suffering from bullying and torture. Do you think of her? Dogs are more human than him, and I don't know if the original owner's mother is blind or has cataracts. She's attracted to such a thing. Jiang Qingfeng lifted her eyes, and her cherry-like red lips couldn't help but spit out a fragrance. Come on, come on. If you want her to go back to the Jiang family, stay where it's cool. After roast, Jiang Qing remembered the storage bag she got in the back mountain last night. Taking out the storage bag, Jiang Qing forcefully suppressed her bulging heartbeat and mobilized the faint blue warm current in her body to inject into the storage bag. This time, it was easily opened. Jiang Qing carried the storage bag downwards, and a series of loud noises rang out. Soon, a pile of things appeared in the room of the inn. But it's really amazing that a bag the size of a palm can hold so many things. Jiang Qing looked at the various items in front of her like a small mountain, and her beautiful phoenix eyes narrowed into crescent moon. Although she had read many novels about cultivating immortality in the past and knew about the storage bag, it was only when she truly touched it that she felt its magic. Perhaps, after seeing more about the wonders of the cultivation world in the future, one may become immune. After regaining her senses, Jiang Qing carefully examined the items in front of her. A pile of brightly colored stones. Jiang Qing knew they were spiritual stones and counted them, about 3,500. Among them, there are about 20 slightly darker colored stones, which are undoubtedly of medium-grade spirit stones. In addition, there were also some bottles and jars. Jiang Qing looked at the labels on them and knew that they were all pills. There are Pei Yuan Dan, Hui Chun Dan, Hui Ling Dan, Ning Bai Dan, Qing Shuang Dan, etc. She doesn't know much about elixirs and doesn't have much knowledge about the cultivation world. Apart from the names, she really doesn't understand the uses of these things. Jiang Qing put it aside for the time being and then focused her gaze on the only weapon among them. This weapon is a long sword, 3 feet long and 2 inches wide, with exquisite sword sheaths engraved with auspicious cloud-like patterns. Jiang Qing pulled out her sword and saw a cold light spreading over her, sharp and beyond words. Unfortunately, she also knew nothing about weapons and was unaware of their level. It seems that she should buy a complete book of cultivation to get a better understanding, otherwise, just like before her, even if she gets good things, she doesn't know how to use them. Jiang Qing played with the long sword for a while before inserting it into the scabbard and putting it away. The rest were 2 books and 3 jade boxes. 3 jade boxes, Jiang Qing opened and looked inside. They were filled with spiritual medicine, but unfortunately, after too long, their spiritual energy had disappeared and they had become a dry fried weed. Immediately after, Jiang Qing picked up 2 books on the ground and flipped through them, one of which was, The Rules of Tianyan Sect. Jiang Qing looked at the title of the book and thought to herself, it seems that the skeleton from the back mountain last night was a disciple of some Tianyan sect. Although she didn't read the novel carefully, she still knew some of the general plot. She knew that Tianyan sect was one of the 10 most powerful sects in Qingyun continent, located in the center of Zhongzhou. Its sect strength could exclude the top 3. How could a disciple of such a large sect appear in such an inconspicuous corner of the southern regions? Even died there. You should know that although there are several cultivation families in Xiaoguang City where Jiang Qing is located, the highest strength of these cultivation families is also during the foundation building period. Even the Jiang family, the leader of the 4 major families in Xiaoguang City, is not just a well-established ancestor with the highest strength. Not to mention Xiaoguang City, there are not many high-priced cultivators in the entire southern region. There is no other reason, not to mention the scarcity of spiritual energy here, the resources are also pitiful. The Zhongzhou, where Yuanying roams everywhere, transforming gods like dogs, resources everywhere, and spiritual energy like rainbow, is completely incomparable. Jiang Qing doesn't know the reason, but it has nothing to do with her. The other book is, Geography of Kanglan Continent, and Jiang Qing casually glanced at it, intending to take a good look when she had time in the future. The rest are several sets of men's clothing and some daily necessities. Jiang Qing collected these before waiting for her to do anything. Suddenly, a series of knocking sounds rang out. Who? Jiang Qing cast her gaze outside the door and frowned. Miss, it's small. Someone is looking for you downstairs. Quickly, the voice of the younger brother reached Jiang Qing's ears in the room. Do you know who the other person is? Jiang Qing didn't get up and open the door, but looked at the door and spoke directly. The person claiming to be Miss Jiang Manhan from the Jiang family said they have something important to tell you, said the younger brother. Upon hearing this, Jiang Qing's pretty mouth curved in a mocking tone and said, I can't see you. Go tell the other person that if they want me to go back to the Jiang family, they will go back and forth from where they came from. She just looked at the recent turning point on the system panel and naturally knew why the person downstairs was looking for her. As for Jiang Manhan downstairs, she is her good elder sister and only the daughter of the Zhou family. This person has never looked down upon the original owner. Not to mention treating the original owner as a younger sister, he is usually too lazy to talk to the original owner. Although not bullying, the disgust in her eyes was clear, as if the original owner was something dirty in her eyes. The little second brother outside the room felt a bit embarrassed for a moment. Jiang Qing heard the commotion outside the door and saw that the younger brother had not yet left. She frowned and said, just tell me the truth. Got it, girl. The waiter at the door didn't really want to see Jiang Qing and didn't say much, so he left hastily. Seeing that the door had quieted down, Jiang Qing once again devoted herself to cultivation. On the first floor lobby of the inn where Jiang Qing was located, a woman in red suddenly turned pale after listening to the second brother's reply. Humph. She's just a lowly bastard, and being able to come in person is considered a way to praise her. She's so lucky, she dares to refuse. It's shameless to show her face. I'll see if I don't break her face. This person is Jiang Qing, at the age of 15 or 16, dressed in red clothes, with a graceful figure and not a stunning appearance. However, her childish little face carries a hint of charm, combined with the pure temperament unique to young girls, forming a contradictory combination. Which room is she in? Jiang Qing's pretty face was thin and angry. Obviously, Jiang Qing's actions angered her. If you're going back to Miss Jiang, the person you're looking for is in room 2 with the floor code. The waiter saw Jiang Qing with a fierce expression on his face and had already turned pale in fear of the other person's bad behavior, so he vented his anger on himself. He knew that Miss Jiang was a cultivator, and as an ordinary servant, he couldn't afford to offend her. Seeing the other person asking questions, I dare not hide it. After stuttering and finishing, I ran away without looking back. Jiang Qing didn't care about the waiter either. With a flick of her bright red skirt, she lifted her head and chest, and walked up the stairs with a proud and coquettish expression. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Shamelessness. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Shamelessness. After going upstairs and turning a corner, it was room 2 where Jiang Qing was located. Jiang Qing stopped and looked up at the room number. Seeing that it was in the right position, he kicked it and with a loud bump, the door of the inn where Jiang Qing was located was kicked open by a strong force. Jiang Qing, who was practicing cross-legged in the room, was startled. The warm current that was originally flowing towards the dantian in her body instantly returned to her meridians. Jiang Qing looked up at the culprit not far away, with uncontrollable anger in her eyes. Even if she doesn't know much about the cultivation world, she knows that cultivators avoid being disturbed by others when practicing. Mild cases can lead to a decline in cultivation, while severe cases can lead to madness. Fortunately, during Jiang Qing's initial cultivation, the warmth in her body was extremely weak, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. Jiang Qing was born into a family of cultivators and has a cultivation background, so it is impossible not to understand this truth. Jiang Qing naturally knew, but she didn't care. At this moment, Jiang Qing proudly raised her small head, and her gaze fell on Jiang Qing sitting on the collapsed ground. A stream of jealousy flashed through her eyes. You despicable bastard is a lucky person, and I don't know what kind of luck you've had. Not only did you repair your spiritual roots, but you also successfully entered the level of qi cultivation. Jiang Qing let out a cold snort, with a fierce killing intent emanating from his eyes. Jiang Qing frowned. It should be said that she had never had any conflict or hatred with Jiang Qing before, so where did the other party's killing intent come from? Why don't you take a look at the other party's system panel first? Maybe you can find some clues. Soon, a system panel appeared above Jiang Qing's head. Name: Jiang Qing, female supporting character who has risen all the way. Qualification: wood fire double spirit roots, medium to high grade, cultivation. Practicing 6 layers of qi destiny. Little qi luck, green, personality charm, blue, red beauty, blue, dark arrow, black, joyous sha, black, life script. Along the way, I followed the wind and water to cultivate to Yuanying. Unfortunately, my personality was too delicate and stubborn. In the end, I offended someone who shouldn't have offended me. I was taken to the blissful palace to serve as a cauldron for the young patriarch, and ultimately died from being mended. Recent turning point. 3 months later, on the way to Baiyun City, I accidentally encountered an old man who was seriously injured. The old man thought he had limited time and no heirs under his knee, so he took him as his disciple and brought him back to Zhongzhou. After reading Jiang Qing's system panel, Jiang Qing's mood was a bit complicated. I didn't expect the other party's ending to be even worse than hers, and at least her death was considered normal. Jiang Qing is doing well, being picked and killed by others. This way of dying is really disgusting. What's wrong, you're mute. Didn't you hear me talking to you, Mississippi? Jiang Manhen saw that Jiang Qing was just staring at her blankly, ignoring her, and her anger instantly rose. If I remember correctly, you should be 13 years old this year. You only practiced one layer of qi when you were 13 years old. Even if you have a good spiritual foundation, you started late and still look like an ant in front of me. Jiang Manhen took a step forward between his words. As she waved her hand, she had an extra silver whip in her hand at some point. With a wave of his hand, the whip seemed to turn into a silver-white lightning bolt, sweeping across Jiang Qing. Jiang Qing didn't expect the other party to suddenly attack her, her face changed greatly, and her body suddenly retreated. Unable to fully dodge, the whip had already landed on her arm. Jiang Qing turned around and saw that indeed, the whip marks on her left arm had torn through her clothes, leaving her flesh and blood blurred inside. Jiang Qing took a deep breath. If it weren't for her entering the level of qi cultivation, that whip would have been enough to kill her. At that moment, Jiang Qing truly felt the arrival of death, leaving her with lingering palpitations. After the palpitations, there is uncontrollable anger. I believe you have no grievances or grudges, why did you kill me? Jiang Qing became angry. Humph, isn't it good to be your trash? Why do you want to restore your spiritual roots? Tell me, what chance did you get? If you dare to hide a word, I'll see if I don't kill you. As Jiang Manhen's words fell, the whip in her hand struck again. Jiang Qing had just reached the level of qi cultivation and had no means to confront the enemy, so she could only constantly dodge. Stop it. Upon hearing the news, Jiang Tan rushed over and saw this scene. He was instantly furious, this bastard. Pop. In a fit of anger, Jiang Tan raised his palm and slapped Jiang Manhen. Although he did not use spiritual power, Jiang Tan was actually a foundation-building cultivator. With this slap, Jiang Manhen fell to the ground. From Jiang Qing's perspective, blood can be faintly seen flowing from the corner of Jiang Manhen's mouth. Inexplicably, Jiang Qing's mood has improved a lot. However, neither of these father and daughter are good things. They put on airs, so she decided to find an opportunity to slip away. Jiang Manhen stumbled up and looked at Jiang Tan with an incredulous expression on his face. Dad, why did you hit me for this trash? Honor, if you're any more stubborn, just roll back to the temple wall and think about it. Jiang Tan snorted coldly and then turned his gaze to Jiang Qing, who was standing aside. His gaze was a bit complicated. It's been a few years since I last saw her. Is she that old? She seemed to have lost some weight, and he remembered that the child was chubby when he was a child. He didn't know if it was because he had suffered too much in recent years, and if he had cared too little about her. Jiang Manhen saw her father not only ignoring her, but also looking at Jiang Qing with a dazed expression, feeling both jealousy and hatred in his heart. Dad, you just misunderstood. I heard that my younger sister has been practicing, so I just wanted to give her a try. Jiang Manhen deliberately explained loudly. Jiang Manhen's intentional loud voice startled Jiang Tan out of his trance. Jiang Qing sneered and said, misunderstanding. What a big misunderstanding. I have only just started practicing. If it weren't for the timely arrival of my master, I would probably have been beaten to death by your whip. Jiang Manhen's face instantly turned ugly. This slut, as always disliked, why don't we just kill her earlier? Jiang Manhen's face couldn't escape Jiang Tan's change, but he didn't get angry this time. He just asked lightly, tell me, why did you take action on your sister? Jiang Manhen remained silent. Jiang Tan's tone gradually became cold. I asked you to come find your sister and go home. You're doing well, but instead, you started to take action. What is her cultivation? What is your cultivation? Are you trying to kill her? At this point, Jiang Manhen knew she couldn't argue anymore, so she had to bow down and admit her mistake. My daughter was wrong. It was because she didn't have a proper approach. Dad, my daughter was originally trying to persuade my younger sister to go home, but my younger sister refused. She said that my father had been ignoring her for years, and now that I think of her, it must be a chance to covet her. I said that my father is not like this person, and my younger sister doesn't believe me, which is why we had a quarrel. I was angry for a moment and only moved my hand. I hope my father can forgive me. Jiang Qing had a big flaw in her heart, secretly wondering how there could be such a shameless person in the world. Although he wanted to kill her and coveted her opportunities, he now slandered her with his red mouth and white teeth. Jiang Tan couldn't bear to listen anymore and said with a gloomy expression, "I'm a fool to fool you when you're a father, right? Who covets the opportunity of Qing'er? I think it's you. I warn you, no matter how your sister's spiritual root is repaired, it's none of your business and you're not allowed to make any plans. If I find out, you should get out of the Jiang family." Jiang Manhan lifted her head and tearfully said, "Dad, from childhood to adulthood, you've only seen her a few times. You're just protecting her like this right now. Will there still be my place in the Jiang family in the future?" Jiang Tan snorted coldly, "Put away your messy and careful thoughts, practice well, and the Jiang family will naturally not lose your share." End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Scum Dad Comes. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Scum Dad Comes. Jiang Manhan looked unwilling and wanted to say something, but at this moment, Jiang Tan was too lazy to talk to her and focused all his attention on Jiang Qing. With just one glance, he could see Jiang Qing's cultivation, which had been somewhat skeptical, but now it was no longer necessary. It seems that this girl didn't know where she got the chance. Not only did she repair her naturally damaged spiritual roots, but she even smoothly entered the qi cultivation period. Since the spiritual root is well repaired, there is no reason to ignore it. Ultimately, it is also his bloodline. Jiang Tan's gaze swept over Jiang Qing's injured arm, and at some point, he had an extra pill in his hand. "Qing'er, come and eat the spring revival pill." Jiang Qing glanced at the pill in Jiang Tan's hand and did not reach out to take it. "I can't bear the things of the master, you should keep them for yourself." Jiang Qing glanced coldly at Jiang Tan, her face full of disdain. Jiang Tan ignored her refusal and with a flick of his finger, the pill fell steadily into Jiang Qing's mouth. Jiang Qing's face instantly turned ugly and she quickly slapped her mouth. Unfortunately, the pill melted upon ingestion and she couldn't even vomit at the moment. "Even if you blame me, there's no need to get into trouble with your own body." Jiang Tan naturally didn't miss Jiang Qing's action of kissing her mouth. Jiang Qing ignored him, and she didn't know why she hated Jiang Tan so much. Perhaps she had a disdainful behavior towards Jiang Tan, but more importantly, she was defending the original owner. Jiang Tan saw that she was silent and sighed, saying, "Qing'er, are you blaming your father?" The head of the household laughed and said, "My father has already died, so there's nothing to complain about." Jiang Qing's face was indifferent. Upon hearing this, Jiang Tan felt both shy and angry, but considering that he had indeed owed her so many years, it was not easy to say anything unpleasant. "It's not a solution for you to stay at the inn like this. Let's go back with Dad. I have already placed your mother's position in the family ancestral hall, and from now on, you will be a legitimate miss of the Jiang family." Upon hearing this, Jiang Qing raised a sarcastic curve at the corner of her mouth and looked disdainfully at Jiang Tan across from her. She sarcastically said, "What my mother wanted most before she passed away was fame. Now that people have been dead for more than 10 years, isn't it too late for the head of the family to say this? What is the identity of Miss Jiang's family? When Jiang Qing is so rare. It's just a small family that's not of good quality, not even the lowest 9th grade. She really doesn't like it. Humph, besides, if it weren't for the recovery of her spiritual roots and her single spiritual roots, Jiang Tan might not have remembered having such a daughter even in another 100 years. Jiang Tan was both shy and angry at what she said. He was originally feeling guilty about her idea, but with Jiang Qing repeatedly refusing to give face, he was left with very little. But from the perspective of the homeowner, he doesn't want to let go of such a single spiritual genius. Besides, Jiang Qing has a decent appearance, even if she doesn't stay in the family in the future. As long as you take it out and marry any cultivator family, it can bring them a lot of benefits to the Jiang family. Of course, it would be great if there were a prominent figure or a family of cultivators who were interested in it, as Jiang Tan's psychological calculations were making a sound. Why do you have to deal with yourself? You should know that it's not easy to get along with the scattered cultivation in the true world. Not only do you have resources, but it's also difficult to obtain knowledge and techniques. Besides, you only have one layer of qi cultivation. If such strength is not protected, it may be difficult to survive, Jiang Tan advised again. I have made up my mind, my master, please go back, Jiang Qing said coldly. Well, then it's up to you. If you want to come back, you can do it anytime. Also, don't forget, whether you admit it or not, the blood on you will always be from the Jiang family. After speaking, Jiang Tan gave Jiang Qing a complex look in his eyes and immediately left with Jiang Manhan. Before Jiang Manhan left, she coldly glanced at Jiang Qing and a mocking smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Jiang Qing clenched her fists tightly, her phoenix eyes icy cold, with a bloodthirsty killing intent in them. This is the first time in my past and present life that someone has hurt her like this. Very good, today's humiliation, she will eventually make Jiang Manhan return it. Later, Jiang Qing remembered the recent turning point she had seen on Jiang Manhan's system panel, and her lips curled up unconsciously. Great, let me replace you in Zhongzhou in 3 months, she said. 3 months later, Jiang Manhan will meet an old man from Zhongzhou and be taken back to Zhongzhou as a disciple. Although the identity of the old man was not specified in detail in the system transition, she vaguely remembers that in the original plot, Jiang Manhan was apprenticed by Ling Xiaozi, one of the top 10 major sects in Zhongzhou, the Shangqing sect. 10 major sects are a first-class power, and compared to a small family like the Jiang family that cannot even reach the 9th grade, it can be considered a step up to the sky. In the plot, the original owner still wonders how Jiang Manhan went to Zhongzhou and became a member of the Shangqing sect. Although Jiang Manhan has a good spiritual foundation, she is indeed quite old. Emotions are directly brought in by people through the back door, and even if the other party is a dying old lady, others will not say anything. Besides, Jiang Manhan is only 15 years old. Jiang Qing withdrew her thoughts and saw that Jiang Tan's father and daughter had already left, so she closed the door. Glancing at her own arm, Jiang Qing's arm had already healed and even scabbed. After a day or two, it was estimated that there would be no scars left. It must be said that the cultivation world is magical. Jiang Qing took a shower, changed into a new outfit, and then began to cross her knees to practice. The cultivation level for qi cultivation was too low, except for her stronger physical fitness, which was not much different from ordinary people. Only by entering the 3rd level of qi cultivation can one cultivate some simple spells for use against enemies. With the means to confront the enemy, one would not be passively beaten like they are today. Jiang Qing practiced in her room for a day, then went to the market again to find the black iron plate displayed in the recent transition on the Qin Ling Tian system panel. According to the system prompt, there is a 5 elements dungeon technique inside, so it's natural to get it early to feel at ease. Jiang Qing took a few turns on the spacious street and soon entered the neighborhood. The neighborhood market is divided into outer and inner areas, and the outer areas sell cheap goods with little value. As for the inner wall, the items sold are relatively more precious, and what can be consumed inside are also cultivators with certain strength. Jiang Qing first arrived at the outskirts of Fengshe, and as soon as she entered it, it felt like she had changed the world. Inside, there was a bustle of people, with constant noise, some shouting and others bargaining. Jiang Qing searched for each stall one by one, looked left and right in front of these stalls, but didn't buy. The vendor's face turned charcoal black. Thinking that the other party is a little girl, it's not easy for the vendor to speak up and drive them away. Seeing that the vendor's face was not good, Jiang Qing would also buy some things she could use during the period. Anyway, she is currently a novice in cultivation, and books such as Cultivation Knowledge and Jade Slips can still be purchased. After wandering around the city for a long time, Jiang Qing didn't encounter anyone selling black iron chips, and her face looked a bit unhappy. And she was a bit puzzled in her heart. You said other travelers would always pick up leeks in the neighborhood market, why can't she come specifically to find them? Jiang Qing expressed that she couldn't bear it. I searched around again and found all the stalls on the outskirts, but still didn't find anything. Shaking her head, Jiang Qing prepared to take a look at the surrounding market. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Unable to understand human language. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Unable to understand human language. Although there are not as many people in the inner circle as in the outer circle, the items sold on the stalls are obviously much better than those sold on the outskirts of the neighborhood. Jiang Qing continued to search one by one, but just as Jiang Qing was getting excited, a clear laugh suddenly came from the front. Hey, isn't this Miss Jiang? Hee, I didn't expect to meet you here. It's really fate. With a gentle frown, Jiang Qing looked for the sound, and in the crowd, a young man dressed in luxurious clothes walked over with a fan and a coquettish expression. The young man was around 17 or 18 years old, with a handsome appearance, but his face was somewhat pale. With fiery eyes, he was firmly staring at the graceful young girl not far away, with a hint of determination in his eyes. Looking at the handsome young man with a joyful face, Jiang Qing furrowed her eyebrows slightly and said, "Is that him?" According to the original owner's memory, Jiang Qing knew that the person coming was Li Rui, the eldest young master of the Li family. The Li family and the Jiang family are both cultivation families in Xiaoguang City, with similar strength. This guy used to harass the original owner often. In order to avoid him, the original owner was so scared that he didn't dare to go out on the street. I didn't expect to meet him when I came out today. Jiang Qing's willow eyebrows furrowed slightly, ignoring his shouting and turning around to leave. Miss Jiang. Watching Jiang Qing turn around, Li Rui's pale face suddenly became anxious. He quickened his pace a bit and finally stood sideways in front of her. Being stopped by the other party, Jiang Qing had to stop, and her narrow phoenix eyes narrowed slightly, looking at him indifferently. Get out of the way. Jiang Qing said coldly. This person's face was pale and his steps were frivolous. At first glance, he was the kind of person who often wandered around among women. If it weren't for his inability to beat him, he would have slapped him long ago. Her body is only 13 years old and she is not yet of age, and it is unknown whether these ancient people have any problems. Miss Jiang. The young man, who had been wandering among the beauties all year round, was stared at by the girl's eyes, singing in the autumn water. His breathing became somewhat rapid, and his usual eloquence seemed to have lost its effectiveness at this moment. Jiang Qing felt nauseous and glanced at the other person's head. Sure enough, Li Rui's system panel appeared soon. Name. Li Rui, soaring cannon fodder all the way, cultivation. Cultivate Qi to the 5th level destiny. The posture of a mortal, gray, dying in non-life, gray, life script. Due to pursuing the male protagonist, he is ultimately killed by the male protagonist. Recent turning point. Today, due to teasing you, you happen to be met by the male lead, causing a conflict between the two parties. As a result, you formed a grudge with the male lead, laying the foundation for trouble. After seeing the other party's panel, Jiang Qing was startled. Good guy, is the male lead around here? Jiang Qing looked around her head several times but didn't notice. Anyway, it's better to run first. If you don't run later, a car accident may occur at the scene. She doesn't want to be the trigger for the conflict between Li Rui and the male lead. What is Miss Jiang looking at? Leroy saw the other person's head spinning around, as if looking for someone. If you don't want to die, get out of the way quickly. Jiang Qing frowned and cursed as she saw this person blocking her all the time. Oh, Miss Jiang is so angry. I don't know where I offended Miss Jiang, please make it clear. Li Ruisi was unaware of the danger and continued to stop Jiang Qing from chattering away. At this moment, Jiang Qing's remaining light noticed that Qin Lingtian's figure was indeed walking in this direction, and her mind became even more anxious. Seeing this person still blocking her, Jiang Qing's anger also came in an instant. Damn it, you can't understand human language, can you? Get out of the way, don't bother me if you want to die, said Jiang Qing, ignoring Leroy's expression. She kicked him hard, then turned around and ran away. That speed, it's like there's a dog chasing behind. Leroy was kicked by Jiang Qing and stumbled, taking several steps back before standing firm. Ah! Miss Jiang. Leroy patted the dust on his body while also searching for the figure of Jiang Qing leaving. On this side, Qin Lingtian, who was heading in this direction from a corner, paused in his footsteps and glanced at the direction where Jiang Qing had left. Finally, his gaze fell on Leroy. Lin Lingtian gave Leroy a gloomy glance and then turned around to leave. Li Ruisi had no idea that she had just wandered around the Yanwang Palace. After seeing that Jiang Qing had already run away without a trace, she swaggered around the neighborhood market. On this side, Jiang Qing, who successfully avoided a car accident scene, patted her heart with lingering fear. She is not afraid of the male protagonist, but rather afraid that after the male protagonist kills Leroy, the Li family will charge her for this. If that's the case, then the trouble will be huge. She is not the male lead, nor does she have the adverse luck of the male lead, and everything can turn bad into good. Fortunately, she has golden fingers that can see others' fate in advance, gain opportunities, and at the same time, avoid danger for herself. After confirming that Qin Lingtian had completely left, Jiang Qing walked out of the corner. The black iron piece had not yet arrived, so she had to search for it. This time she didn't go anywhere else to find it, but walked directly to the place where Qin Lingtian had stayed. She is not afraid that things will be taken in advance, because the system shows that it will take several days for Qin Lingtian to get it. Sure enough, she found what she was looking for at an old man's booth, and she didn't know if it was, but the appearance was quite similar. Anyway, buy it back first before we talk. Jiang Qing picked up the black iron plate and said with a smile, "Uncle, I think this thing is quite interesting. How do you sell it?" The old man glanced at the black iron piece in Jiang Qing's hand, hesitated for a moment, and said, "If you want it, give 2 inferior spirit stones. Anyway, it's useless, better than throwing it away." In fact, this black iron piece was accidentally obtained by the old man, and after studying for a long time, he did not find anything special, so he took it out for sale. Jiang Qing breathed a sigh of relief when she saw the old man agree, and then readily gave the spirit stone. After receiving the goods, Jiang Qing went to a shop specializing in selling pills and bought a few bottles of spring revival pills. That thing has a good healing effect. Buy some to be prepared for any harm. In addition, she also bought some self-defense runes on her body. Currently, her cultivation is too low and she doesn't have any means to deal with enemies. The runes are very suitable for her. There are fireball talismans, diamond talismans, and thunder spirit talismans, all of which are powerful talismans with 5 pieces each. She doesn't know much about FUL, these are all introduced to her by the store's staff. The spring revival pill and FUL were very expensive, spending hundreds of lower-grade spirit stones on her. If it weren't for her obtaining the storage bag in the back mountain of the Jiang family, I'm afraid she wouldn't be able to withstand making it like this. Finally, Jiang Qing bought several large wooden barrels and some miscellaneous items such as jade boxes in the local market. The reason why she wanted to buy a wooden bucket was for the opportunity in the Black Wind Forest outside the city. She never forgot that Qin Lingtian's last chance had not yet been taken, which was 100-year-old spirit milk on a gourd-shaped half-mountain peak located in the Black Wind Forest outside the city. There are still about 10 days left until now. Her cultivation level is too low, and there are monsters outside the city. Don't worry, prepare well first. After buying almost everything, she didn't linger much in the neighborhood, but lifted her foot and left. She didn't go back to her original inn, but switched to a different one. She didn't want to be kicked out of the door again after practicing well. End of this chapter.